Hey guys and girls, Mark Crossfield here. Great question here from Vern asking about the ZX4 and the Mizuno 921 Hot Metal. So these are the two clubs he's narrowed it down to, wants me to do a compare to show him if there's any real noticeable difference. First port of call, Vern, make sure you go and test yourself if you haven't already. It's the best way to do it. You might feel things differently the way I feel it, but let's just give you an idea of what I see the difference or similarities in these two golf clubs. So looks wise, similar, slightly nicer in the neck area in ZX4. So this is the club I game, the Srixon club. And the Mizuno may be a fraction thinner on top, and well, it's definitely thinner on top. You see slightly more grooves across the face on the Mizuno as well. So it feels like the grooves are longer in the Mizuno, less of this bit of the toe. Sole's very, very similar, maybe a fraction thicker in my ZX4. And top line's similar, but definitely a little bit more slender in the Mizuno if that's what you want to look at, but they're very, very close. I wear a Srixon hat. I'm sponsored by Srixon. They have no say in this video. This is just my opinion of these two clubs. I have a great relationship with Srixon where they're happy for me to give you opinions on these clubs, so you buy which one's best for you. I don't care what game clubs you game. I literally don't care. I do care that you're getting tested and getting good information. So let's try and give you some more of that. So ZX4 to start. This is my iron. I game a full set of these and I've really enjoyed them. And what I enjoy about ZX4 is the looks. They look quite almost bladey and traditional. You look down at them and they look very classic. So they're slightly thicker top lines, but it doesn't look like a big chunky game improvement iron. But it does give you that feel of performance of those stronger lofted, which both of these are kind of game improvement iron. And it makes me feel like I can stand here and give it an almighty wallop and feel relatively secure. That's something that is a feel-based idea. Again, trying to find that in real facts is tough with MOI ideas and what have you. But I definitely feel confident enough to stand up there here, and that a little bit of extra launch that these thicker lofted or thicker sole clubs and bigger body clubs can deliver, while at the same time, a little bit low spin, get some silly long ones. And even though I know that's coming from basically the jack lofts, I still quite enjoy it. Certainly when I'm trying to go faster. They're like a little safety net for me. So the ZX4 feels very solid, and it feels very much like a kind of right in between what a real players club would feel, while at the same time definitely delivering a little bit of chunk of muscle and those stronger lofts. Let's compare that up to the Hot Metal. So there's a Hot Metal Pro. This is the Hot Metal version, not the Pro version. Definitely looks a little bit longer and more slender, which you might like or not. I think looks-wise, I prefer the ZX4, but it's not much in it. Again, the feel is so similar with the two clubs. So if anything, this one is slightly got a clippier sound, but that's, I hit that pitched the line, that one. I could test these tomorrow and that would flip. They're very, very close. This club has more going on visible looks of little kind of cavities and what have you with the pad on the back. Should we see what Mizuno are actually saying about this club? So chrome alloy is what they're saying, our third generation of manufacturing irons using chrome alloy. We get a stability frame in the back of these clubs, giving it extreme perimeter weighting for helping with mishits. Seamless cup face, re-engineered Cortex face. It's now thinner across the center point, and a variable new variable thickness sole design, resulting in greater face flex and ball speeds. So it's cavity, it's trying to keep ball speeds up across the face, trying to maximize what they can do with the face, while at the same time delivering some relatively classic Mizuno ideologies in maybe the way it looks. So it's punching, if you're into tech, a good tech punch. It does feel nice. Again, the sound stroke feel is next to nothing in that. They feel very, very similar. We'll do a little fun game at the end just to see how it kind of goes when I hit, not just down a range, and I hit to an actual target on a course. Back to my ZX4. Something you might not like with ZX4 is you do see a little bit of the back of the club out the back, and that kind of gets more visible as you go into lower lofts. I actually stop at a 6 iron. I don't have anything more than the 6 iron in this club. And I start going into hybrids with both of these clubs because of the lofts, which we'll show you on the numbers. You do want to seriously consider what iron you stop at. I see people buying 5 irons in these kind of clubs and they just don't get them airborne. Certainly if the lie is anything that rips launch away, you know, you put it in a downhill slope or you put it in a bit of a rough lie where the launch is just going to come out a bit lower, because the 5 iron is basically a 4 iron, they buy it, they never use it. I just think, just save your money and get a more functional hybrid possibly. So let's see what Tech Srixon are saying about ZX4. Main frame, a milled pattern on the backside of the ZX4 face maximizes the COR for ball speed, so they're doing stuff to the face to try and maximize ball speed on the face as well. Hollow design. Hollow design gives enough forgiveness to strike the ball across the face while enjoying high shots that fly straight and find their target. I think you still have to do most of that work, but they do maybe fly a little higher, which is something which is quite positive with the lower lofted clubs possibly. Multi-piece construction. It's got the Tor VT sole that we see in lots of Srixon clubs, and it's also got progressive grooves in the 8 irons pitch wedge are sharper, narrower and deeper for more spin, stopping power on approach shots into greens. So you feel with Srixon, because Cleveland is part of Srixon as well, with the groove progression, they're bringing almost a bit of their groove knowledge from wedges into these clubs, which might be something that sells it to you or not. A few more just to get the data set numbers up with JPX. Notice how I'm changing. If you do go and get fit for your clubs as well, try not to hit 10 with one, 10 with another. I say this in lots of videos. Hopefully you can tell your fitter that you don't be afraid to speak to them. You do want to alternate, like 3 with each is quite good. I find might even be 2. Don't get into patterns with one club, because what will happen in the data is you'll come through rather than the performance of the club. Hit 1 or 2 with one, switch, hit 1 or 2 with that one, and they'll just have to keep swapping it on the old machine. Fitters sometimes don't like that because they have to do a bit more work, but if you want to get truer numbers, that might just help you. Does feel solid, the old JPX. Like it feels firm and fast off the face. Should we have a look at these numbers? Is there anything coming out that's different in these two clubs? I'll be surprised. They feel very similar, and even the flights I'm seeing look really similar. So if we look at the two clubs, 123 ball speed, 122 with nearly 2 mile/hour standard deviation on those numbers, so they're overlapping. 17 launch to nearly 17 launch with nearly 1 degree of standard deviation overlapping. Spins totally the same. They are not different, and the standard deviation far overlaps them. And the carry and the standard deviation overlaps, as well as the total distance. And if you look at the two circles, they're basically the same club. The JPX on that batch peaking a fraction higher possibly, but that could be my delivery more than anything else. Head speed with both clubs very much the same. Yeah, a little bit lower strike with the Mizuno, which could just get it going up into the air with that fraction. Was it slightly higher spin? Yeah, like that's where this is probably coming through at a guess. And then delivery numbers very, very similar. Those two clubs, so carrying near 180. Let's take them on the course and see if there's a difference when I try to hit a green. But on the range test, we'll be fair, you can't, either of those two, you're not going to go wrong. And that's the big thing when it comes to your decisions with your clubs, which people often talk about. You know, you're spending a lot of money and you're told to get fit, which has its merits if done in the right way. But it's not as if there's a right and wrong decision. Like both of these clubs are going to do what you need them to do, subject to what you feel and what you want, which is what might play through. You can see, because basically the delivered lofts match with all intents and purposes, no matter what both of these companies say they do with the face and all the rest of it, they're doing the same thing and they're playing to the same boundaries in club manufacturing. So like, you're not going to lose anything whichever one you go for. Obviously I'm sponsored by Srixon, so if you're not going for a Srixon, then I'm going to be really upset, because if just buy the Srixon, surely, isn't it? That's sarcasm for anyone who doesn't get sarcasm. Right, game time. I like to do this part on the course here, and this is something that you could do in your fits as well if you're using a simulated environment, because it will make you see how those dry numbers reflect out in the real environment. Now this is quite an extreme real environment. This is one of the hardest greens to hit with the pin back left. It's a tiny little portion. 180, and it's about 9 foot, I think, downhill, so I don't need to kill them. Should we go Srixon to start? In the comments, which one's going to be closer? 3 shots with each club. Oh, that's not drawing. That's going to miss the green. And that's a really nice shot as well. If you look at that on a dry data range, you see what I mean? That comes out as a good shot, because that is 4.8 yards offline. It's so interesting. 13 yards to the pin, but in a bunker with a really tough bunker shot. That is a bogey. That's got more chance for me probably having a bogey than it is a par. On the range, you would buy that club off those numbers. Right, Mizuno next. I'm going to play exactly the same shot, but hopefully this time it won't have the little tail to the right. That felt a bit toey alert, and it's a little tail to the left. They're exactly the same shot, but one was struck in a slightly different position. Stop! See, that was coming in low spinning, 4-6 spin. So Mizuno 1 up. That is 10 yards offline. Let's look at the dry data of that. And you'll see why that is, because I'll show you the white line in a second. 4.8 yards offline to 10 yards offline. Yet this one is loads closer than this one. And you can see the line here is aimed up to the middle of the green. So I'm not using that line, but that's where everything's lined up. I mean, I'm trying to aim about here. That's just crazy. Obviously, I can move the line as well, but I feel like I'm clever enough to understand how to aim on a launch monitor. But it's something to bear in mind as well. If you're testing on an on-course environment, where is the machine aimed up to where your ideas are aiming up? Mizuno, 1-0. These are both 7 irons to give you an idea of the distance they're going and the loft that they were presenting. They're jack lofts. So Mizuno's got the honour, it's 1 up. Oh, again, that's some poor strike. See it just tailing off to the right, that's all my doing. And it's shorter as well because I struck it. That's an impossible shot. That's a definite bogey. That one to the pin, 21 yards. So Srixon next. And that's exactly what I did. Again, it's just a fraction more of my shape with the, you know, on the strike and my delivery. And that's a pretty good shot. That one to the pin, 17 foot. So that's 1-all. And this is what's so interesting when you get two clubs that are dynamically lofted so similar. So the loft I present impact is so similar. Doesn't matter what the tackle says, we basically just get almost exactly the same numbers out. Which is why with both of these clubs, again, like I say, I don't think you can go wrong. So last shot, I can take a little bit off it. Srixon's honour. Who's going to come out on tops? Oh, that's a horrible little cutty one. Definitely, I did try to take some off, I just got the wrong shape, and again, that's in that impossible position. 20 yards to the pin. Mizuno to finish. Definitely think Mizuno's going to win this now. I can hit it closer than 20 yards. Second go round. Each time the second shot was better as well, which is so interesting in fittings because you do adapt. That's a great shot. Oh, what a shot. Closest one of all of them, 4 foot 6 inches. Thanks for the great question. You want to see me compare 2 clubs or 3 clubs or some items that you're interested in, post a comment down there and I'll try and do as many as I can. I get a lot, but I'll pick out as many as I can. That's a really good test between those 2 clubs. Mizuno comes out winning on the test on the course. For me, I think the Srixon just looks a fraction nicer. Certainly, I think the back of it looks nicer as well. That's nothing to do with performance, just in your bag. This is much more of a classic look. But performance-wise, if you're going to buy just on performance, so what the manufacturers can do with a club, I'm not seeing a difference in those 2. They are feeling, sounding, looking so similar. As you saw from the data and you saw from the game at the end, unfortunately, it's me that plays through the most. You can't go wrong. 2 good choices, maybe in the comments if you see this video. Let us know which one you went for. And again, make sure you go and test both. Don't just go on my ideas. If you can test them, do. Let us know which one comes out on tops for you.